All right, guys, today we're talking about how to create a support-centered culture at your agency. If you're really wondering, how do I make my ICs, my agents, more self-sufficient? How do I retain my best staff because my culture is so amazing? And also, how do I give myself back work-life balance? If that sounds important to you as an agency owner, keep on watching. We're covering on today's show. All right, guys, don't forget to take a moment, like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell over on YouTube. Every week, we bring you amazing content to help you grow your travel business, and I don't want you to miss a thing. If you're new here, type a little "I'm new" in comments so I can welcome you to our community. And if you are new, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Cyndi. I'm the CEO and founder of Wanderlust Campus. We are the #1 educational provider in the travel industry. In fact, we just found out last week we're on the Inc. 5000 list this year as fastest growing companies, not just in the travel industry, but in the entire US. So we're very proud of that. Most of that is because of you, those of you who are already students or alumni in Wanderlust Campus, and we couldn't be more honored to share this accolade with you. But today we are talking about, oh my gosh, all things agency owner. In fact, this week's session is best for our agency owners. So if you've been thinking about becoming an agency owner, or you already have your first small team, or maybe you have a giant team of 200 or 300 or 500 or 1,000, and you were at the place where you're like, oh my gosh, the agents are getting out of control. I need to make sure that we are creating a culture that supports them best, and also a culture of them either being self-sufficient or helping each other so you can continue to drive the business forward and do all of the CEO, business owner things that I know are on your plate. So I want to start with the #1 thing. Now, we work with agency owners a lot. If you don't already know, I know a lot of people know Wanderlust Campus works with new agents and experienced agents to help them scale and grow and get to the levels of growth that they want to. A lot of people don't realize that we work with agency owners all over the industry to help them grow and scale their teams as well. So we have a lot of insider knowledge on exactly how to do this, all the processes that it takes, and the important steps to make sure you're creating the right environment for your agents. A lot of those I'm going to go through and touch on today as well. So just to share that, we do this a lot. So it's not our first rodeo. We've helped hundreds and hundreds of agencies actually grow and scale and get to the levels of growth, talking about thousands of agents represented in the ones that we have touched and trained throughout the industry under our Wanderlust CEO program. So what I want to outline for you though is whether we're taking a Wanderlust CEO through this new journey or we're talking to you directly, I want to start by saying creating the right supportive culture starts with you as the owner making sure you have the right infrastructure in place first. I cannot stress how important this is. We get a lot of agency owners that come to us when they have their first 50 or their first 100, and they're like, oh my gosh, operations are a mess, automation is a mess, stuff is all over, I'm having issues here with these agents, I don't know how to support these ones, and it's just all over the place because the right infrastructure wasn't set up at the get-go. Now listen, if that's the situation you're in, no judgment. I'm glad you're here to learn so you can pick up some good tips, and we're definitely going to give you some things that you can modify to get on the best path. But I say that because if you are in that beginning stage, or you just have your first couple, or you haven't even started your team yet, it is so much easier to do it right from the beginning and make sure that you have the right environment where ICs and travel agents can thrive. And also remember, from a leadership perspective, when you're bringing team members on, they're trusting you to be in that leadership role, trusting that you're going to have the right environment for them, trusting that they can learn and grow and thrive and fulfill their goals too in the travel industry. That is a big responsibility. So please take that seriously as you continue to grow and scale your team. So let's talk about infrastructure for a second. The first thing I want to say about infrastructure, I'm going to break this down in a couple different categories so we can kind of today we're talking about from the perspective of the agents kind of supporting themselves. So not all of your infrastructure, but specifically, what is your infrastructure going to be for them to get answers? What do they do when they have a problem or a question or they don't know where to go? So you have to ask yourself then, what do I need to create? What architecture do I need to have to make things available to them? So whether it's educational resources, whether it's where they find materials that are specific to your agency, whether it's you're a Wanderlust CEO and you're using a plug and play new hire kind of training product. Doesn't matter. Whatever those different pieces are, how do they get there? Is it easy? Is it seamless? How are you linking that up and putting it into their journey as they begin with your organization? So think about what needs to exist there. And I'm going to give you a couple things to think about as well. Where do they find the answers to things? So sometimes that's going to be in training or education. And also I want to be very careful about the usage of the word training. As an agency owner that has contract employees, you cannot require nor provide structured training. Sometimes this comes as a surprise to agency owners and they think, I'm going to put the best training program together ever and I'm going to give them all the education and I'm going to do all the things that weren't done for me. Well, the reason they weren't done for you was because if you were a contractor, legally you are not supposed to give them structured or required training. That makes them an employee, which means you as a business owner, as an agency owner, have to abide by a whole different set of rules. So you need to be very careful about that. You can, the way that the ASTA legal counsel, I've heard them say it, and I am not an attorney, so please check with your employment law attorneys or ASTA for guidance. But the way that I heard them explain it to the top agencies in the country when I sat at the PATH conference earlier this year is they said you can have educational offerings, but you can't have required or structured or make it a requirement of them kind of keeping their job, right? So you need to make sure that you understand that little intricacy in how, as you're bringing a team on, that becomes quite a challenge for you because nobody in your company necessarily has been through the same learning journey, and so it becomes a little tough on the support side. But think about we're going to get into training in a second, how you can encourage them taking advantage of their educational opportunities or educational offerings, right? But you want to think about where are they going to find the answers, whether that is in the educational offerings, as we say, or it's going to be something that is agency specific or a resource or a tool or something you make available. Where are you going to house that stuff? How are they going to find it? Are you going to put it in an agent portal? Are you going to create structure around that? The easier you can make that for them, the better. And there's some advanced systems you could do. You could even employ AI. You could have one of those little boxes that says, where do I find this on my site? Where do I do this? You could have a logic tree that you set up to answer questions. So there's different ways that you can leverage technology. We're doing that in our own businesses, and so we know a lot about that. But if you're not quite ready for high-end automations yet, still think about where are these things going to be kept for your new agent community or your growing agent community. All right, the other thing I wanted to say is having well-trained staff, and I am going to say trained right now because just because you can't train them once they're with you by legal definition, you could look for contractors that already have training. Maybe they already have a careers on vacation certification. That would be a great hire. They've already earned that travel professional certification, or there's another designation, the associate travel professional. Either one of those, they have been trained by our staff. So that would definitely be one to look for, and easy kind of to slide into your environment because they already have a foundation. If they don't have a foundation, then there's different ways we'll talk about later. You can kind of create that for them. But keep in mind, getting them on the same page is a really important thing. One of the things you could also do, and what some of our Wanderlust CEOs that take our 6-month-long agency owner program, they actually become an educational partner with Wanderlust Campus, and they make our travel professional training kit plus available to their new hires. Again, it's an educational offering, but because we supply the training, we are a third-party entity providing that training for them. And then once they pass it, some of the agency owners pay a higher commission rate. Some of them actually say you need to go earn this before you're eligible to be hired at our company. Those are things where you can get more well-trained staff without kind of, creating a bunch of infrastructure, taking an entire 2 years to create the best training program ever, right? Or educational offering program ever. So at any rate, whatever journey you take, no judgment there. But I will say, having agents with a foundation that either have some experience or they have some skill or they've been trained already, those are really key to look for, and they will be more self-sufficient right out of the gate. But for those that are kind of going through that journey, think about those resources and where you're going to have everything, your infrastructure, and also what is the community element? How can you engage the rest of your team? So think about having a discussion forum or a Facebook group that's a private Facebook group where it's a place they can all ask questions, they can communicate with each other, they can help each other out. That can become a really productive tool as well, because sometimes when they have a question or a concern, it's late at night or early in the morning and you're not on the feeds, they will answer the questions for each other. The more advanced agents will go, oh, I know the answer to that, or at least point them in the right direction. So a lot of the problems will be solved by the time you make it to that feed later in the day. So that can be a beautiful communication tool as well. You also could think about things like a ticket system, depending on how big you are. There's different ways that you can kind of handle that. But I will say the biggest tip is if you are getting too many texts from your agents, that is not a support system. They should not be texting your personal phone on a regular basis to kind of get every single answer that they need. When there's too much of that going on, either something's broken in the infrastructure or the self-sufficient nature of the operation that they didn't know where to go or who to ask, or you are being too generous with giving them every single answer. And I'm going to talk about that here as well, which brings me to my next topic. During the recruiting, onboarding, hiring phase, recruiting, hiring, onboarding, in that order phase, this is your opportunity to set good expectations, make sure that you're putting kind of borders and bumpers around what goes at your agency and what doesn't, walking them through where you're going to support them, how they can expect to interact with you, what you should expect from them. Make sure you're having these conversations. It is outlined, it is agreed to, it's in your hiring agreements, and you reiterate it early and often. When you do that and you kind of get them onboarded to understand here's how things work, if you do that in the right way, they will be off and running so much faster. Don't just hire someone and leave them to float out there for 3 weeks not doing anything. Then they feel unsupported and you don't want that environment as well. But things you want to go through in that conversation, things like, when are your team meetings going to be? Are you going to have mentoring or one-on-one sessions where they can check in with you? How does that process work? Where do they book it? What's the cadence that that's going to happen? What's the communication framework from them to you or them to whoever their supervisory person might be if you're not supervising them directly? And then make them resourceful. Teach them where the resources are in that onboarding phase. And don't give them every answer. Don't tell them the answer. Tell them where to go to find the answer. That's how you teach them to fish instead of giving them a fish dinner, okay? So from a leadership perspective, I know this is hard for me too, because I know most of the answers in the industry. After 31 years, I know. So when they come to me, they're like, oh, I just have this quick question. And I'll say, oh, yep. I understand why you're asking that. That is actually in module 3, page 4. I'm going to point you that direction so you know where to find it next time you have that question. So it's even hard for me because I could just give everybody the answer, but I know at some point they're going to have to work on their own. At some point, they're going to have to know how to find those answers. And then it frees them up to go, oh, this was easy to look that up. Oh, this was really easy to click on that and find it. Once they know how to do it, then they're helping themselves. They become self-sufficient. You don't do them any favors by kind of giving too much in that category. You're not teaching them to be leaders and to kind of be captains of their own ship, if we want to say it that way. So think about that. Now, the last thing I want to talk about as far as big categories is you want to make sure you're rewarding what you want in your culture. We literally have a module on this in the Wanderlust CEO program that is in our performance management section, talking about how to create the best culture in your company, rewarding what you want. And what I see with agency owners who've kind of gotten in a little over their heads, or they have a lot of agents, is they usually have a couple of, let's just say, maybe not the best agents on their team, or people that are causing drama or challenges or just weird energy in their business. And 80% of their headspace of time, energy, XYZ is going to the wrong people. They're going to these negative situations, trying to resolve things, or rather than coaching these folks up or out, all the energy is just getting sucked out of the room by a few. Now, the other 80% of the staff, or especially the 20 or 25% of the staff that are doing amazing, they're selling, they're self-sufficient, they're encouraging others, they're doing a great job. we're like, oh, they're doing a good job, I don't have to worry about them. No, you need to, as a leader, you need to flip that mindset. Whoever's doing the best job in your company, they get the time, they get the attention. That is when you're rewarding what you want. And think about this from an energy perspective, because some people don't know the difference between, negative energy versus positive energy, or negative attention versus positive attention. It's just attention to them. So those people sucking the air out of the room, it's kind of like a succubus situation. Like they'll take until there's nothing left. So if you're just giving all the energy in that situation, they're kind of getting what they want. They're getting they don't care. They see it all as energy directed at them. When you make a shift and you say, who gets the attention, the love, the care, the respect, the admiration, the praise in my company are the people doing the good things, watch how fast your company shifts. And the people who they're not really in alignment and don't fit with your company culture, they will either exit themselves out, or you'll get really good at coaching them up and out quickly, or coaching them up and into a better direction. That's always the first goal. But as a leader, you need to work smarter and understand how energy is like such a commodity for the travel agency owner, right? So get really good at rewarding what you want. Acknowledge those top people, give them praise. Even in some cases, consider them for a leadership track. You could even look at bonus it, like send them a Starbucks card, do something fun, acknowledge them at the team meeting, or even create a bonus structure where they're earning more commission if they're really making a positive impact. Give them the love, the energy, the resources. Very important. All right, last thing I want to share for anyone considering a team, has a team, growing a team, must-dos that you need to make sure you do a check-in on yourself. Make sure your agency is architected properly. That's everything from your, legal setup on how you're setting it up, all the different decisions you have to make. What do your hiring agreements say? How do you do all of the functions, like how do you recruit? How do you hire? How do you onboard? What educational offerings you can make available, and how are you managing performance? Make sure all of those systems are in place, they're defined, and they are working before you really turn a big "I'm hiring" sign on. That's really important. And if you are in that place where you need a little help with these things, you've never had an agency before, I want to remind you, this is what we do with our Wanderlust CEO program. We are enrolling only one time this year, and we're enrolling right now for the class that starts in October. You can get your applications in by going to wanderlustceo.com/start to be considered. We have some sales minimums, but as long as you meet those sales minimums, we can do everything from helping you scale your operation if you're already started. If you haven't started your team yet, we can teach you everything you need to do it the right way from the beginning. And the best number one reason why our Wanderlust CEOs love our program is because their agents get access to the Travel Professional Training Kit Plus, which allows us to actually train their new agents for them. So you're bringing in Wanderlust Campus as an educational partner to help create little super salespeople for you so your agency can grow that much faster. So if that sounds interesting, definitely check that out. I'll put all the links below. And guys, wherever you are in your journey, I want to say I wish you so much love, so much abundance. I wish you the world. We'll see you on the next one. If you like that last video, make sure you check out all the content available to you on our channel. And I invite you to follow along, travel with me around the world as I grow and scale my travel businesses. You're going to pick up some great tips, some great tricks on how you can grow your own travel brand too. I'm going to drop some links down below, and also check out these videos I handpicked just for you.